What are the next best fights for every fighter that participated on the UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi card? That is what we're here to discuss. It's your boy, the MMA Mechanic. Welcome to the garage. So we're just going to get right into it. On the screen, we got Robert Whittaker and Reinier de Ridder. These two men participated in the main event. RDR, Reinier de Ridder, got his hand raised, and I do think that his next fight should be between the loser of DDP or Khamzat Chimaev. I like this matchup because this is a dream matchup that I want to see. I think that everybody wants to see Reinier de Ridder either fight his distant, long lost cousin, Dricus, or some of the grappling exchanges between him and Chimaev. I think that would be amazing to watch. So the loser of DDP versus Chimaev, I do think should fight RDR. RDR needs another win before we start talking about titles. So I do think that a win over either DDP or Khamzat would get him that. So that is what I'm thinking. And also, it would just make things more interesting. Everyone's saying Izzy Adesanya. The thing about it is that if Izzy wins, then now he's right back into the title picture. I mean, it's old news, man. Let's get some new things going. I think this would create some new energy in the division. Then, I mean, you got the winner of the DDP versus Khamzat fighting either Almabayev or Barriault, and you know, the loser of that matchup would fight, you know, either, you know, the winner of Anthony Hernandez versus Delice, and then you have all these interesting matchups now. So let's make this fight here. I think everybody wants to see this fight anyway. These two, this guy RDR fight either of these two anyway, and I think it just makes a lot of sense for how things will shake out in the division. Robert Whittaker, I think, needs to fight the loser of Delice versus Anthony Hernandez. I think he needs to fight the loser because it's a step down in competition from the killers he's been facing, the killers that are like one win away from a championship fight. I just don't think we need to continue to give that to Robert Whittaker. He's, you know, he's a little bit out of his prime now. You can see he's not taking damage well. He's bleeding all over the place all the time. He's still good. Still very good, but you know, he's just not the same guy. And so the loser of the Delici versus Anthony Hernandez, which I'm kind of worried. Listen, Anthony Hernandez should be the favorite, but I'm worried because Roman on the ground is a problem. So, you know, that's going to be a very fun, interesting fight to watch. But I do think that Robert Whittaker could beat the loser of the fight. I think that's the area that kind of, you know, he's in now. And so yeah, this is the matchup I would like to see. And then again, the winner of the let's say Hernandez, you know, could fight the loser of the Amava Rajo, and now you have all these interesting matchups. So I think this is how that should shake out. We will see what happens though. We got Petr Yan, we got Marcus McGhee, and we got Sharaputdin. Petr Yan, I know everybody wants to see him fight Merab. Here's the thing. I know I don't want to see that because I think Merab beats him, man. And listen, Sean O'Malley's a fight on his resume that is technically a loss on his resume. Get that back for the legacy. Get on a 4-fight win streak. You go for the belt. I think that Song Yadong qualifies as a championship fight for Merab. It's fresh. You know, he's coming off a win against a former champion. He's top 5. It makes sense that Song gets the next shot. I mean, we can't keep having Merab fighting the same guys over and over. Give Song the championship fight, and then let Petr Yan fight O'Malley, get his legacy corrected the way it should be because he was robbed in that fight, I do believe. But again, it's a stain on his legacy saying that, although it's not a stain because O'Malley's a former champion, O'Malley's good. But also for O'Malley, this is good too because if you have 2 wins outside of the Aljo win and the Yan win, right? O'Malley's resume, and the Yan win's questionable. O'Malley's resume is kind of like, you know what I mean? So if he gets 2 Yans over Petr Yan, now that's good for his legacy. So I think this fight makes sense for both fighters. I think both fighters need it, to be honest. Okay. So as for Bullet the Shara the Bullet. I think Shara needs to fight Bo Nickel. Both fighters are fighters that didn't pan out to be what we thought they would be. Again, Shara getting styled on by MVP, I think, got exposed. In a way, I mean, MVP is just very high level with the striking. I don't think anyone's going to beat MVP in just a striking match, right? So, you know, but again, Shara just didn't pan out to what we thought he was going to be. Even though he had a good win against Mark, you know, he got touched up and he's bleeding and all that stuff. So I think that Bo Nickal obviously got exposed. RDR is very, very high level, but Bo Nickal, again, both of these guys showed that they're not on that level, which is what a lot of people were talking about, before, MVP showed Shire levels and RDR showed Bo levels. I think that stopped them in their tracks. You're not ready for that level yet, and I don't think they will ever be. So I think this is a fight that makes sense. The battle of two guys that didn't pan out to be what we thought they would be, and which is why they are where they are. So I do think that this fight makes sense. Battle of the Gingers as well. They both have red hair. Yeah, so that makes sense. Next we got Marcus McGhee. I think he should fight Ricky Simmons. Listen, Marcus McGhee is good. It was a very fun fight versus Yan. I just think that Yan showed him levels. I think that you're 13. If he would have went and got a top 10 opponent first and then get the Yan fight, it would make more sense. Show him higher levels of competition before you get to a Yan who's like one of the best in history at the division. And then but the thing again, he fought 3, so he's not gonna he didn't take a step backwards. So get a win against a guy in Ricky Simmons who's on a 2-fight winning streak. You get that win. Now you go for a top 10 opponent. That's 2 in a row. Now you're right back in the place where you should have been. I know you're a little older, so it made sense why you took the Yan fight. But I think this scenario is going to line you up for a catapult back up the rankings again. You beat Ricky Simmons, then you go and you beat maybe a number 9 or 10, 8 or 9, 7 guy, and you now can make a case for let's give me another top 5 guy. You give it one more shot because you're a little older, and you hopefully get that win. Because I do like Marcus McGhee. I do think he's good. I just think Yan was just too much for him. And I want to say too early. I just think that he just hadn't been tested by a guy of that caliber. So if you would have gotten a top 10 guy before you get a Yan, or a top 5 guy, you get a little bit more exposure to like higher levels of competition. You see where I'm going with this. We got Marc-Andre. We got Jose Ochoa and Almabayev. What do we got for these guys? So we're gonna start with Jose Ochoa. I think Jose Ochoa should have fought Carlos Hernandez. That's the level he's at anyway. I mean, I don't think that he should have gotten the Asu fight. That was too much for him. Now he was successful on the feet, right? So if you would have given him a Carlos Hernandez before, now he works on that grappling. He has more time to work on his grappling. His first 2 fights, Cody Durden and Lohner, they both guys grappled him. I think that this would have been a good fight for him at that stage in his career. Not Asu. Asu was just too much too early. And I think that this Carlos Hernandez fight can also give him a win for him to continue to work on his deficiencies in grappling. And, then get him to kind of like challenge again for maybe like just outside the top 15 caliber guy before he tries to make another run. He's younger, he's not old or anything like that, so he has time. Just I think you build Jose Ochoa right. Again, I don't think he's going to be like a top 10 guy, maybe just top 15-ish, maybe. I think Carlos Hernandez is the level he's on, and I think that's where he should have been. That's a fight that should have happened in the first place. Cody Brundage versus Marc-Andre. I think both of these guys are coming off of losses. Both of these guys don't have much runway left. I mean, no, I don't see any of these guys. Cody, I don't see him being top 10 or top 15 or anything like that. So, these guys fight each other. It makes sense. This is the level that this is their ceiling in a way. And this is the level of competition that I think both need to get wins and things like that. So I think this fight makes sense. Yeah. Next we got Asu versus Alex Perez. I think this fight makes sense because Alex Perez is one spot in the rankings above Aslan Almabayev. Aslan Almabayev just fought. Alex Perez is injured. I do think that this fight gives Alex Perez time to heal up, fix some of those nagging injuries, come back by Asu for that ranking spot. Even though he's higher in the rankings, so Asu for that ranking spot. I think in the meantime, fights will happen in the division, and I think that again, Manel Kape's ranked I think number 5. Royval, I think he just got a loss. I don't know if he's staying in the division, but we'll see what happens with that. So there's movement. There's things happening in the division to where this fight happens next that will set either man up for a potential opportunity to move up and fight higher, maybe a top 5 guy or something like that. And next, we got Nikita Krylov, we got Bryce Mitchell, and we got Bogdan Guskov. Bogdan, I like the Dominic Reyes fight. The reason why both these guys are coming off win streaks, I think so. Nikita's ranked number 10 before the Bogdan fight, and Bogdan will probably take that. I think Dominic Reyes was ranked, like, if I'm not mistaken, he was ranked in the top 10. I think number 8 or 7. I think the winner of this fight would potentially fight like a Jamal Hill, which would then set them up for maybe another fight before they can challenge for a belt or something like that. So this fight is going to add another contender in the top 5, I think. Yeah, someone that can contend with a guy in the top 5 and fight for, a chance to potentially get a title shot. So I like this for both guys. Yeah, obviously Bogdan, started off his UFC career with a loss and just kind of been on a good tear since. Dominic Reyes, we know after the John Jones fight, he went on a 3-fight skid, getting knocked out left and right. And he's back on a 3-fight win streak. I think that this is perfect fight to catapult one of these gentlemen into contendership, and then get some fresh new faces in the light heavyweight division that really needs it. Kyler Phillips, hand him over to Bryce. I think that Bryce is more physical. The physicality he will use to expose Kyler Phillips, who is out physicality by Vinicius Oliveira. I just think that Bryce is outside the top 15 with his win over Saeed, and I think that Kyler Phillips is, ranked number 15. So we need to get Bryce that. Bryce is a bigger name. Bryce is, there's more attention on Bryce. It's more excitement around Bryce. Get Kyler Phillips out of the top 15. He doesn't belong. I think Bryce gets this fight, and I think he takes that position. Nikita Krylov versus Alonzo Menifield. I think that Alonzo is, ranked at like 15. He was ranked 10 before he got knocked out by Guskov. I think that might slide him down. And then, if he's slid down to like 13 or something, then Alonzo could take that because Alonzo's another power puncher. I just think that Nikita's chin is gone now, man. He's been knocked out brutally 2 fights in a row. Alonzo Menifield is not scheduled to fight yet, so we announce a fight in a couple months. That gives time to Nikita to recover from that injury. He needs time off though, at least 6 months. Neither one of these guys are. Alonzo's not booked for a fight, so it makes sense. And he would be moving up the rankings as well if he were to get a win over Nikita. This might be it for Nikita, man. If he loses a fight like this to a guy like Alonzo, I see 40 plus fights in. At this point, what are you fighting for? You're not going to make the run that we thought you were for a potential title shot. So I think this makes sense. A younger, more athletic, powerful guy that could make a run and get an old head out of there. He's taken 2 vicious knockouts in a row. I think it's that time. All right, we got Saeed, Carlos Leal, and Muslim Salikhov. All right, so Saeed versus Peyton Talbot. This is a perfect fight because Peyton Talbot's on his way up. Saeed's on his way down. They're meeting where they are, right? Saeed's a good test. He's still very good. But he just isn't showing the ability to get over that hump. You know what I mean? He's just not able to get over that hump. Guys are he gets tired. He is a very good striker though, so this would be a fun fight. Peyton Talbot had to work on when he lost to Hani Barcelos. It showed that he had to work on his wrestling. He went out and did that and beat Lima. I think that this would be even more of a test to with his defensive grappling and ability. He'd have to show a ability to stuff takedowns as well. And then if you can do that, it'd be a fun fight on the feet. Again, Peyton Talbot's on the way up. Saeed's on the way down. I do think that this is a fight that makes perfect sense for where both of them are in their careers at this time. All right, so we got Muslim Salikhov versus Wonder Boy. These men do not want to retire no matter what happens. Okay, so we've seen both men get knocked out in recent fights. Neither want to retire. Muslim Salikhov is pushing 50. And so is Wonder Boy, man. So if they're not gonna retire, this is a fun fight. This is gonna be a high level fight. Both kung fu masters, right? So this would be a fun fight to watch. A lot of people would get up for this. Two legends in the game. I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. Maybe a couple fights ago. But either way, I think it's a perfect fight to make based on their age, based on their fighting style. It's gonna be a fun fight, entertaining to watch. Makes sense. Book it next. All right, Carlos Leal. Listen, you've been getting exposed, man. You blitz in. Your chin's sitting there on a platter. You're not defending yourself. You think because you're just a big monster, you have a lot of power, you can just blitz forward without defending yourself. You found out the hard way against Muslim Salikhov. You can't do that. So now that you've learned your lesson, hopefully, let's get you a guy that's beatable but still dangerous. Santiago Ponzinibbio, still dangerous. Still can crack, still can get you. But this is a fight that you should win. So if you can't win this fight, then you may not even be UFC worthy at this point. You got brutally knocked out. You're gonna need time off, but you have to get a win, right? So this is a very winnable fight for you. You're the more physical guy. You're the bigger guy, stronger guy. You hit harder. But if you can't defend yourself, Santiago's gonna get you. I could see him catching you, and if depending on how much damage Muslim did to your chin, I mean, we'll see if your chin's gone. If you're not defending yourself, you can get put away again. You know what I mean? So this is a fight you should win, just like the Muslim Salikhov fight. You should win, but you just don't know how to defend yourself. So you lost the fight, and you lost me. Anyways, I like this fight next. I think it makes sense for Carlos Leal. Santiago Ponzinibbio at this point, just take the fight because, you get a paycheck or whatever. But then this fight makes sense. All right, so on the screen we have Davey Grant, crafty Davey Grant. We got Devon Blackshear. Davey Grant was able to get his hand raised. We have Tabatha Ricci and Amanda Ribas. So first fight, Davey Grant. Let's get your legacy back intact. You did not lose this fight against Muniz. So let's get this rematch against Adrian Yanez, and let's get that legacy corrected, right? Because on paper it still shows that you lost Adrian Yanez, but you didn't. Everybody that watched the fight saw that you didn't lose that fight, and I messed up the name in earlier. I tried to play it off, but whatever. Adrian Yanez, we know Davey Grant won that fight, and so let's get that back for Davey Grant's legacy. I think Davey Grant's 39. I don't see him, making a run or anything like that, but yeah, we just need to get this one back for a legacy, Davey Grant. So push for this, okay? Adrian Yanez isn't scheduled for a fight. This makes sense. You didn't take any damage, I don't think, Davey Grant. So this is a fight that makes a lot of sense for your legacy. Let's go. All right, Cody Brundage versus Damon Blackshear. This makes sense because Cody Garbrandt is a name. He's a big name. He's a known fighter. Damon, at this point, you lose to Davey Grant. You need a name to get you back into a place to where you can make another push for top 15. Cody Garbrandt would do that because of his name value, right? Former champion. You know, I think you need this fight to get you back in contention again to make a run for that top 15. Listen, Damon has a lot of potential. It's just you gas. I mean, you were able to get Davey Grant down first round, controlled him, submission threats, the whole nine, and then just got pieced up the rest of the fight because you gassed out in the second and third round. So you need this fight. I think this is a good one for Cody as well because, you know, again, Damon was on, I believe, a 3-fight win streak. So, you know, you can hand him a second loss in a row. Good for your legacy in a way. I guess you've been taking a lot of losses. So this is really just a fight for Damon Blackshear, honestly. You know, he needs this win to get him back into a position to where he can make another run. I don't think Cody Garbrandt has that in him, even though he's not even that old. I think he's like 33. But yeah, this is more so for Damon. Damon needs this fight. All right, Amanda Ribas. I know Jessica Andrade is fighting Lupi Godinez this coming pay-per-view. But Amanda Ribas is going to need a ton of time off, man. And I can see Lupe beating Jessica Andrade. So with that being said, I think this fight makes sense. They're both Brazilian. They've both been in the game in the game for a long time, been in some wars. Yeah, I think this fight makes a lot of sense when Amanda is able to recover. She got, I mean, Tabatha Ricci put her elbow right into her eye socket. I wonder, I need to look and see what type of damage was done. Because that literally, her elbow went right into her eye socket. It was just disgusting. So, very curious. But either way, I do think this fight makes sense next for both of these women. All right, Tabatha Ricci, Jillian Robertson. Okay. Both women like to grapple. I think Jillian would sub her. I still don't think Tabatha's that good. I still think that if she didn't get that lucky elbow in the eye, she would have lost to Amanda Ribas. But she won, so Jillian is a good test for her. I think they're both in similar positions in the rankings. I think this one makes sense. All right, we got Iwa Aslan, Billy Elekana, Mohammad Yahya. All right, so Billy Elekana, we're going to give you a Justin Tafa. You stood out there and you just watched Iwa Aslan for the first 2 rounds. You caught him in a little bit in the third, picked it up a little bit in the third. I was just really upset that you just decided you didn't want to fight for three rounds. So I'm going to give you a guy that's going to force you to fight. You either are going to fight or you're going to get knocked out. You have the ability to beat him in Junior Tafa because I know he moved down to lightweight, but he's still trash. But he will knock you out if you don't bring the fight to him. You have to go out there and implement your strengths, which is grappling, take him down. If not, you will get knocked out. And that's what I want because he's going to force you to actually fight, unlike you did against Iwa Aslan. All right, so next. Mohammad Yahya, bro. Whoever signed this guy, he should have never been signed, man. This was a cruel joke. This was a cruel experiment. Someone wanted to laugh. Put the guy's a human punching bag. Stephen Nguyen was literally knocked you down 7 times in 1 round. The fight before that, you were a punching bag. Someone is just a cruel person. You were never UFC caliber. I don't even know if you're PFL caliber. So listen, get him to another promotion. Okay, that's the next opponent for Mohammad Yahya. Iwa Aslan. All right, we're gonna give you Ivan Erslan. Both fighters are on a 2-fight losing streak. Both fighters aren't very good. That just makes sense. Get one out of the UFC, and replace them with a fighter that actually has potential to I don't know. Iwa Aslan is waving his hands in his loss like he did anything. The man did absolutely nothing. I don't know what that was, man. And you started off your career just blitzkrieging guys, knocking everyone out. I pick you because of that, and then you go out there and you do absolutely nothing against Billy Elekana for 3 rounds. You did nothing. These two should fight to see who gets cut from the UFC. Period. All right, got with Stephen Nguyen. We got Martin Buday, and we got Marcus Buchecha Almeida, and we'll start with Stephen Nguyen. We're going to do Billy Quarantillo. Both of these men do not know how to defend themselves in fights, but they do throw a high volume pace. I would like to see this fight because it would be entertaining because they would just be throwing a high volume. I do think that Stephen Nguyen has more power and would probably knock out Billy Quarantillo, but I know that no one's going to defend themselves in any way, shape, or form, so I want to see it. There'll be blood. It'll be bloody. It'll be messy. I want to see it. Okay? Stephen Nguyen, Billy Quarantillo for that reason only. All right. Tai Tuivasa, huh? Martin Buday is listen, I want this fight because Martin Buday, I want you to show Tai Tuivasa that he can lose weight. He doesn't have to be a fat shit cat in every fight. Martin Buday lost weight, man. He looked slimmer. He was swift. I think he'd beat Tai Tuivasa. Outside of Tai Tuivasa landing a Hail Mary, like, you know, Martin Buday has skill. You could see it when he fights. He has actual skill. He might have been a fat shit cat, but now, you know, he's lost 30 pounds. You see his belly flab. You know when you're really fat and then you lose a lot of weight and you have the excess skin. You saw that on Martin Buday, so that means he cares about his well-being. I don't think Tai Tuivasa is still doing shoeies, bro. Like, take your career seriously, you fat shit cat. You know what I'm saying? This is next, and I think that this makes sense because I think Tai Tuivasa is above Martin Buday in the rankings. Tai Tuivasa hasn't fought, and I don't even know how long. So I do think that Martin Buday wins this fight. I think this is next. It makes a lot of sense. For Marcus Buchecha Almeida, let's get you Ryan Spann. I think this would be a fun fight because Ryan Spann, I think he just won his last fight. Listen, Marcus Buchecha Almeida, I think Ryan Spann is a step down from Martin Buday, and it would be fun scrambles. I think both men are BJJ practitioners. Obviously, Marcus Buchecha Almeida, I thought, you know, with him being a 17-time BJJ world champion would mean something, but it clearly doesn't because the guy gasses immediately. So, I mean, he runs the risk of getting knocked out here by Ryan Spann, but, you know, if he can survive until the second round, I see both men getting into some fun scrambling exchanges. I could see the scrambling exchanges on the ground being fun. Jiu-jitsu, I see a sub here. So I think this fight makes sense specifically for that reason. It'll be entertaining for that reason only. And that's all I got. Your boy, the MMA Mechanic. Appreciate you guys. See you.